Hello, on today's Fragment of a Nut Slum, I just have a quick video that was suggested over in the .hat network, which was wanting to know how, the question comes is how do you transfer your save file between the PS2 and the actual hardware and your emulator? And I will quickly show you how I do it. Now keep in mind, how I do it may be different than how you can do it. I am using an outdated version of FreeMcBoot and a bunch of other things which we'll get into in a second, but the general process should work for you as well, no matter what version you have. So to do this, you of course will need FreeMcBoot. You will also need a copy of Open PS2 Loader, or OPL, and just for convenience sake, you don't actually need it to do the transfer itself, but usually if you're going to run this on the PS2, you're going to want to have OPL on there so that you can actually play the game. And uLaunchEFI or wLaunchEFI, it depends on what version you have and all that kind of thing. They're basically the same program, it's just two different branches. So what we're gonna do today is I have my PS2 save file, and I want to transfer a backup to my emulator. So I'm going to show you how I do that, and kind of give you a heads up of what you should be able to do if you have a memory card or if you use a virtual memory card like I do. I personally find that more convenient, especially for backing up purposes. So go ahead when you're ready to do this. This works in reverse as well. I'm going to do the process from the PS2 to the PCSX2. But you do the exact opposite thing when you want to do it for going the opposite way. So go ahead. First thing you need to do: boot up your PS2, and make sure you have your FreeMcBoot card installed, and immediately launch your uLaunchEFI. Now I also have a hard drive on mine. If you do not have a hard drive, you can use a flash memory, USB stick, whatever. It should work exactly the same because it's all based upon the file system, but it will be significantly slower than it'll look for me. All right, so this is the launch ELF screen, and as you can see, it gives you instructions how to use it. I'm not really going to go into any great detail on how this stuff works. I'm just going to show you the parts that are relevant to the transfer. I don't have an optical disc in there, so it says fail to load. That's why that's there. I'm going to hit circle, and then you get a directory tree. This is your root directory tree. MC0 and MC1 are your actual physical memory cards. If I was to go into MC1, this is my McBoot card. I don't have anything in MC1, so that's it'll just show blank. You'll probably, if you're using Fragment on an actual memory card, you probably have it in MC1. So that's where you would want to go for your files. But as I said in the beginning, I use a VMC, or a virtual memory card, which means that the memory card is actually a file on the hard drive on this PS2. So if we navigate to plus OPL, this is usually where you'll find any files that aren't the actual game. And as you can see, I have several utilities. The OPL I use, which is a specially modified one. Again, I've been using stuff I found and set up 4 or 5 years ago, and I've just never upgraded. I never felt the need, and I probably never will. But if you're using a newer one, there might be slightly different. Things might slightly be different, but they should be pretty close to the same. And this is where you find things like your configuration files, any cheat files, but more importantly for me, my virtual memory cards. And as you can see, this is the one I use for my Fragment. This is my live one. This is the one I had way back in the day before I started, when I finally found it again. This is just like I keep a copy of my original IMOQ and GU file here too, in case I ever want to boot that up and play around with it. And this is before I found, this is like before I found it. So you basically it gives you a lot of options, and you don't have to actually go and find your memory cards or anything, and I find that convenient. And it's really easy to back them up because you just copy them as files. So, right now, I want to take what's in frag.bin, and I want to put it in a PS2 now file. .ps2 is the format that is used by PCSX2, and .bin is it's basically just a raw file that's equivalent to a memory card. You cannot load a .bin into the PCSX2, and you can't load a .ps2 into OPL. So you do have to do that conversion. But luckily, LaunchELF, no matter which version you have, has the ability to read both. So that's how we can get around it. Now, what I've done, and I recommend if you're going to do this on a regular basis, I recommend you create 2 blank files. I've created in PCSX2, I created a blank 8 meg PS2 file, and in OPL, I created a blank version of my fragment file, which is again an 8 meg file. As you can see, the PS2 file is slightly larger than the .bin because it has header information and a bunch of other things, and that's part of the incompatibility. So what I do is, depending on which direction I'm going, so for example, the direction we're going to be going, I would copy this blank one. So I'm going to go ahead and use the right trigger, right R1, yeah, both actually work. And then I go, and then you get this little pop-up menu. This is how you navigate a lot of the functionality of LaunchELF. So I want to go copy. So it's the first option. So I'm just going to hit circle because mine is set up to mimic the Japanese input. Yours might be set up differently. Go back, and as you can see, I keep the last one that I've done here. And the reason there's 2 .ps2 versions, this is the one that is from PCSX2, and this is the one that's going to the PS2s because it's originating from the PS2. That's just so you understand what my naming scheme is. So what we need to do is we need to paste it. So again, R1, but we go down to paste. But if you notice at the very bottom, there's a couple of options, and one of my favorite options is the paste and rename one, which is the square button, and it gives you this dialog box, which you can use. You can use the controller, or if you have your keyboard handy, like I do now, you can rename it. And I will follow basically the naming scheme I had before. You can name it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Okay, and then hit either OK or Enter, and then there we go. Okay, so this is where it's going to get a little different compared to whether you have a physical memory card or you're using virtual memory cards like I am. So what you want to do is, with a virtual memory card, you want to mount it so you can access the files. So if you do the R1 menu again, you can mount it. You get 2 virtual slots you can mount them to, just like you can with the real physical cards. So I'm going to mount it to the 0 one, and as you can see, here's my data. This is my save data. I'm going to back out, and now we have this VMC0. If you were to do it from a physical card, you wouldn't have to do that step. You would just have to go to MC1 or MC0 if you happen to have it saved to the same one as your FreeMcBoot. Okay, there's a little bit of backtracking I have to do, because we also have to mount this guy here. So we do the exact same thing. We do it, but in this case, VMC1. And as you can see, it's a completely blank card. So what I do is I go to the card of choice, whether it's MC1, MC0, or VMC0. I open it up, and then I use the X key, or button, to mark it. And then we go back to that R1 menu, and we go copy. Go back up. We go to this blank card. We hit paste. And then we wait. Now, the reason I recommend the blank ones is because it has a nasty habit of locking up when dealing with cards with data in it, when you're trying to copy to and from or deleting. So it's best just to have a copy of a blank one handy and just use that. That way you don't lock up, and then you get frustrated. It gets very frustrating because it doesn't lock up at the same place. It's just and it's very unlikely you'll have a successful copy, at least on the version that I use. They may have fixed it in the newer one. You should always use an 8 meg or a 16 meg if you want to have more stuff on it, but if you're doing this kind of thing, you really don't want to have anything else on it. Yeah, and that's it. That file now has my information. If I was to, when I go later on today, when I go plug it into my PSX2, it will be exactly where I left off. Now, a couple of caveats with the online. You will have to redefine your network profile when you do that. The network profile is unique. The version of the card that is emulated is different than the version of card you will likely have in your PS2. So you will have to. It will not let you online until you either use the built-in network editor, or you use the disk that was provided by Sony for the U.S. market, or whatever, however you like to do about it. So just keep that in mind. Again, if you want to do the opposite way, you do the exact same thing, except I would take the blank one out. I would take my actual save and I would move it into my backups folder. I would paste the blank one here. I would mount it, and then I would just go ahead and do the exact opposite. I'd mount the PS2, mount the blank one, copy it over. Oh. And again, you can copy these to your USB drives or whatever you like. So I'll do that right here. And also keep in mind, if you're just using USB, it is going to be incredibly slow. It's going to be a slow process of copying it. It's going to be a slow process of copying the file, the individual parts of your save into your file. So just be patient. All right, that's about it for this mini tutorial. Hopefully you found it useful. And if you have any questions, comments below, and the Discord is probably a better place, because there's usually someone available and for a more immediate response. Alrighty, catch you later.